As you're probably aware by now, young artist Juice WRLD unfortunately passed away a couple of days ago at the young age of 21. I mean, it's a damn shame because he was already at places. The numbers he was putting up, especially this year, was insane. It was the kind of numbers you'd expect someone like Drake to be putting up with a release. And this was all before he'd hit the age of 21. But he had a extremely distinctive vocal style and singing style and writing style. His writing style was very, very confessional and heartbreaking at times. Very, very melodic. He had a good ear for beats as well. I wasn't the biggest overt Juice WRLD fan, but the music that I was exposed to from him, it was pretty good. It was really good, and you could hear we hadn't even heard the best of Juice WRLD yet because he was so young, and that's another damn shame that we'll never be able to hear him at his peak. And even though he was so young, he was already making music that was consistently good, and he was reaching so many people, and the kind of energy that was surrounding him it felt like 10 years ago when Kid Cudi first came out. That's how wide ranging his reach was, and it's a damn shame that he's passed away so young. But I think what this has highlighted is a really, really insidious problem in the music industry, and that problem is that it seems that there's no duty of care towards artists at all, because if there was, I don't think these kind of things would be so common, especially the substance abuse problems. I mean, this isn't anything new. Of course, artists throughout the 20th century and into the 21st century had passed away from issues of substance abuse and alcohol abuse, etc., etc. But I think now, especially with the access to the internet we have, that shouldn't still be happening, because we can share information across the world in just a click, and we can share resources and possible solutions to the problems, but those problems aren't going away. So I think those who are in charge of, especially young artists, those in their management teams, in their camps, and those people, the higher ups in the labels, they need to have a greater duty of care contractually, because it seems at the moment that they don't. And of course, the culture surrounding, I would never in a million years even suggest to censor any kind of art. I think that is disgusting. But I think there does need to be some sort of discussion around this obsession with Percocets and Xannies, etc., because it's dangerous. It's clearly very dangerous. And I don't think that's a problem that's from the ground up. I don't think there were young artists coming into the game and their intention is, I want to be addicted to pills. I don't see that. I think the problem is the accessibility to things like that is clearly very, very easy, and I think that needs to be a discussion for those who are in charge of distributing those pills. I think there also needs to be, again, we need to turn the mirror, or the lens, towards the music. What is it about when you gain this level of wealth and success that you start to rely on these numbing antidepressant pills? There's clearly something draining emotionally or spiritually or mentally about entering this world for young artists. Especially when you're young, you're obviously going to be quite vulnerable, but when you're in the rap world, you have to portray this image of that you're not. And I think that's another issue that needs to be discussed. But like I said, I would never. I've seen some articles surrounding Juice WRLD's death, and they're kind of trying to paint a picture of him very, very discreetly, of him yeah, he was involved in this kind of thing, so what do you expect? And it's fucking disgusting. Especially, I was looking at a Daily Mail one. As you can imagine, they're the worst at this. But the headline that they chose to go with is Juice WRLD was mobbed by sniffer dogs at LAX in customs search 3 weeks before feds found 70 pounds of marijuana guns. Is that pertinent to his death? No. Is it pertinent to his fans or his family's grieving? No. What relevance does this have to the gravity of the situation? It doesn't. That's not the way he passed away. Why is that? It's not, especially so. It's been 2 days since the main focus should be that a young, innocent, very talented artist has passed away who had millions of fans and was touching a lot of people. He has unfortunately passed away. Here are our condolences. Here's how we can discuss trying to stop these things from happening instead of sensationalizing it just for your fucking views on your shitty website. And it's not even anything that they're doing overtly. It's the small things which make the big difference in how an audience, clearly a very impressionable audience, as I imagine a lot of Daily Mail readers are, the way when they see something so small, it changes their perception of that person. Like, there's a picture that the Daily Mail put attached to the article, and it's Juice WRLD and his girlfriend and a bunch of his other friends earlier this year on a jet. And of course, we're reading an article about Juice WRLD, so chances are we are aware of what Juice WRLD looks like. Yeah? Well, the way they've chosen to caption it is rapper Juice WRLD seen smoking a blunt on the far right. How is that relevant? Is it relevant? No. But because they love to sensationalize it, and because all these fucking conservative shrewds love reading this website, oh, he's seen smoking a blunt, he was involved in drugs. Wow, that's what you get, innit? That is the picture that these insidious articles are trying to paint, and it's disgusting. There needs to be discussion about the level of the duty of care that management and labels have to their artists. There needs to be discussion about how readily available these drugs are. There needs to be discussion about what it is about the music industry that pushes artists over the edge, whether they have existing mental health problems or not. Again, there needs to be that support framework in place for these artists, because doing this job, I imagine, of course, I'm not in the music industry, it looks very glamorous and it looks like the best job in the world to be having millions of dollars and millions of fans and touring all over the world. But as I can imagine, that is a lot of fucking stress. And it's a lot of stress for someone who is barely an adult yet. So there needs to be that support system in place. And of course, there needs to be discussion about how these deaths are reported on. Of course, when X unfortunately passed away last year as well, because he had been involved in some serious legal issues prior to his death, so it was much easier for the media to essentially imply that he kind of deserved dying in some strange, fucking twisted, morbid way. But that was a lot of the dialogue surrounding his death. But thankfully, those who can see again the impact that he had on his fans, they can see that he is past now. Let's remember the music that he gave to us, and let's celebrate that. And of course, Juice WRLD wasn't involved in the extreme levels of legal uncertainty that X was. So it's harder for the media to try and manipulate the story into painting him out as a villain and as someone who kind of got what they expected to get if you get involved in these drugs. But you can't just say, oh well, he was taking drugs, so what do you expect? No, you need to look at the root of the issues. You need to look at why this is becoming so common. Because if it was just down to the individuals, a reasonable person would look at that and say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to become addicted to pills. But of course, it's not a choice. Young artists don't go into the music industry premeditating that, yes, I want to have a serious addiction to Percocets and possibly die. No, that's not their intentions, because that's ludicrous. So there needs to be discussion about what is it about the music industry, and specifically the rap industry at the moment, that is pushing these artists to those extremes to cope with the stress of their lifestyle. But yeah, like I said, the focus, now that Juice WRLD has unfortunately passed away, should be on celebrating his music, celebrating his life, celebrating the far wide-ranging reach that he had and how he touched his audience in such a short space of time, and celebrate the achievements that he managed to achieve before he'd even hit 21. And I think one more thing that I should touch upon is that, again, a lot of the discourse surrounding things like this, especially those who are frankly uneducated about certain types of rap music, is they hear the lyrics on a surface level and they hear the mere mention of drugs or Percocets, and then that in turn they say, oh well, they're glorifying it. They're glorifying it. No, of course that is the case for a certain very small section of artists, but if it's particularly pertaining to Juice WRLD, when I listened to his music, in no way did I feel that he was glorifying it. I think he was just completely honestly saying, I have this severe addiction, I use this to cope with my problems. And those warnings were, unfortunately, went unheeded. But of course, the manner of, I don't want to get into the specifics of his death, because I feel that's, it's not relevant. The focus shouldn't be on how he died, it should be on the fact that he has passed away. But of course, there was involvement of police, and apparently he swallowed a load to I don't know, to somehow evade being caught or something like that. But we have to ask what got him to that point, that he felt that he had to do that. What got him to that point where he had that amount of Percocets in the first place? What got him to that point where he had this reserve of drugs that he feel he needed just to cope on a day-to-day basis? Because it shouldn't be the way artists cope. It should be that they're supported by the people in charge of them, by their management, by their labels. Why else are they called management? But yeah, that's really it. Basically, it's a shame to have to do one of these videos, but I think it's an extremely important topic to discuss at this point in time in the music industry, and sadly, it's becoming a common occurrence. Hopefully, we don't hear news like this again for a long while. But yeah, Juice WRLD, rest in peace.